What up, everybody? With the introduction of Breeze in the Raising Kanan Season 4 finale, and the announcement that Season 5 will be the final season of Raising Kanan soon after that, setting the stage for Season 5 to be a bridge season between Raising Kanan and Power Book Origins. The question we now ask is how long before we see young Ghost and Tommy on screen? And I'm confident that I found the answer to that question, because on May 9th, Joseph Sakura, who plays OG Tommy, reposted the Force Season 3 and Raising Kanan Season 5 joint teaser video with the caption saying, "So proud to be a part of both of these," with the word both written in all caps. So that alone lets us know that Joseph Sakura wasn't only a part of Force Season 3, which is obvious, being one of the executive producers and the show's lead actor, but that he'll also be a part of Raising Kanan Season 5. So the next question would be, in what capacity is Joseph Sakura involved in Raising Kanan Season 5? And someone asked that question in the comments. They said, "Just curious, but how are you part of Raising Kanan? Or will you be in the new season next year? Executive producer?" And Joseph Sakura replied, "Close, you're always a step ahead." Then they asked him if he was the showrunner. And obviously, he's not the Raising Kanan showrunner, because that's Sasha Penn. Then he just answered her and told her how he's a part of Raising Kanan Season 5. He said that he'll be a director. This means he'll be directing a specific episode in Season 5. And I think I know which episode he'll be directing, because in another comment, he told someone that he loves Raising Kanan to let him know what they think of episode 503. So this almost guarantees that Joseph Sakura is the director of Raising Kanan Season 5, Episode 3. Now looking at what a director's job is, that's the person who yells cut, action type shit. The director cuts a scene if they don't like the way a particular actor's talking. Maybe they don't like the facial expression someone's making. Basically, working with the actors to carry out what was written in the best way possible. Because of that, I definitely think Raising Kanan Season 5, Episode 3, the episode Joseph Sakura is directing, will be the episode where we're first introduced to young Ghost and Tommy. Because it would make sense for Joseph Sakura, and to even hopefully have Amari Harwick as part of it also, directing specifically the first episode with young Ghost and Tommy, to give them pointers, and to make sure that the first look at young Ghost and Tommy goes right. So what better way to push these young actors forward with their role than having the OG Tommy, Joseph Sakura himself, direct their first episode in these roles. Then there's also the question, because the fact that Force Season 3 will air before Raising Kanan Season 5, what will OG Tommy's fate be at the time we're introduced to young Tommy? Will his story be over with at that point on the current timeline? I talked about in another video before about the possibility of Tommy getting locked up and narrating Origins from prison. It also makes sense why young Ghost and Tommy will be introduced in the third episode of Season 5 and not at the beginning in the very first episode of Season 5. Because there's a lot of storylines that we were left in the middle of at the end of Season 4 that will have to be somewhat concluded in the first two episodes before the introduction of young Ghost and Tommy. Like knowing for sure if Rock is dead or alive. Same thing could be said about Stefano Marchetti. What Lou and B Real is going to do with Panessa and Jerome. And specifically, whatever the fallout is with what Kanan did at the end of Season 4 will play a key factor in what happens at the beginning of Season 5. As far as Ghost and Tommy's introduction and first scene in Raising Kanan, I still think the scene where young Ghost and Tommy are introduced should be the story that Kate told in OG Power, how Tommy used to get beat up every day after school, but one day Jamie dealt with two guys who were picking on Tommy, and nobody ever messed with him again after that. That's the scene how I've always wanted to see young Ghost and Tommy introduced to the show, to see exactly what Ghost did to the two guys who were jumping Tommy to make it to where nobody ever picked on him again after that. Keep it in mind, Kanan once said that Ghost was the meanest kid he ever met. I would love for that not to only be Ghost and Tommy's first scene, but I also want that to be Ghost's first kill that starts building up his reputation in the streets from a young age. Keeping in mind, Ghost's first kill in Power was almost immediately one of the very first scenes of the show after he arrived to Club Truth on opening night. Tommy had brought Miguel Alvarez to Truth for Ghost to deal with after robbing their shipment and killing their money man Cruz. Because out of all the lead characters throughout OG Power history, off the top of my head, Ghost easily has the best introduction out of them all with those first couple scenes. I'd love to see young Ghost make the same type of impact when introduced to the storyline of raising Kanan. Not to mention him saving Tommy at the same time would make it that much better. Maybe Ghost killed one of them kids and beat the other one down real good and told him to put the word out that nobody messes with the white boy anymore. We also know that Ghost's first job in the streets will be a lookout for Kanan, because in Power, when Angela told Pauls that she was seeing Jamie St. Patrick again, Pauls mentioned how Jamie used to play lookout for those gangsters. The gangsters Pauls was talking about was guaranteed Kanan and likely Breeze, either though it was said that Ghost and Tommy didn't meet Breeze until 1996, and they had moved up to corner boys by that point. But it was never said if Tommy was a lookout with Ghost or not. But it was said when he was young, before he got into the drug game, that he used to be a bouncer at one of the strip clubs Kate worked at. It was also said by Tommy in Force that he got his start out in the game selling weed. So that also leaves the question open. Did Kanan recruit Ghost and Tommy when he saw that they were selling weed, similar to how Ronnie, Snaps, and Pop recruited Kanan back when he was selling weed? So after Kanan meets Ghost and Tommy, we'll begin to see how they ascended in the drug game, starting from the very bottom, and how they got close enough to Kanan by 1996 to get introduced to Breeze. Keep it in mind, Kanan already has people who've been with him for a minute now, like Crank, Primo, and a couple other guys. We'll find out how Ghost and Tommy rose in the ranks above the other people Kanan already has in his crew right now. In addition to the introduction of Ghost and Tommy in episode 3, we got to believe that somewhere within that vicinity of episodes, we'll also be introduced to Tommy's mother, Kate Egan, and we'll also find out the truth about who Ghost's father is and also his Uncle Gabe. And hopefully it will be revealed sooner rather than later who Ghost's mystery brother is that was hinted at by Courtney Kemp on an IG Live. And there you have it. Leave your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments.